My dad died of heart failure, and it was because he wasn't in shape. Great man, worked crazy hours, but didn't take care of his body. Hence why I actually went into the fitness world, because I was angry and I was kind of fighting that entire thought process. So I went straight into fitness and kind of made it my mission to make sure that other people didn't experience that. I think I was angry for a long time. Where I really started to reel back is I was selling memberships in the gyms. You meet a lot of people in the same boat as my dad was. You kind of start to get empathy for that situation and really understand that for me, I was always in martial arts. We've talked about this before. I was a Thai fighter very young, or some jujitsu, some form of martial arts. So I stayed very fit, but it's hard. It's hard to make that a part of your daily routine. It's hard for people that are already in a situation where they may be overweight. I kind of learned to have empathy for my dad's situation and start to be able to sell through that and tell my story to the people that were sitting across the desk from me and help them make the leap to change their life. Started with anger, went more to empathy. And to this day, I still try to employ that when I'm having conversations with friends, family, coworkers, employees, anyone.
I like to interview people that are successful like you and ask you what's hard for you. Like, what are the challenges that you dealt with growing up? Because on the surface, people look at you and they're like, man, this guy is one cool cat. He is smooth. He's cool. And then nothing phases him. But those of us entrepreneurs, we know that that's not always the case. We're like ducks underwater swimming 100 miles an hour. So I'd love to go back in time and ask you to start anywhere you'd like to in your past and share with us what's a challenge that you endured or overcome that has helped to shape your life today, Brandon.
Yeah. Well, if everyone, I don't know if everyone would consider me smooth, Matt, but I appreciate you saying that. And but I definitely haven't always been. So main things for me, Matt, and you go way back, we'll go back to when I was 18. I think I've shared this with you, but I lost my dad when I was 18. And that really kind of changed my perspective. And in terms of, having a mentor, which I really believe in business is extremely important. Because you just don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times, especially at 18, I wasn't necessarily diving into my bookshelf over here. In fact, I had probably 0 books behind me at 18. And so, I really needed some guidance. And so what I found, and just rewind a little bit, I used to be in the fitness industry. And I was in sales. And what I tried to do as a young sales professional is just constantly ask questions and find that mentor that was ultimately going to be able to, help me level up my game. Doing the bare minimum, especially in sales, is never going to take you, to the next level and help you become a high performer. So one of my first mentors was actually a gentleman named Will Spencer, and he was the GM of the club that I worked at, when I was 18, 19 and first started. And he really just taught me the importance of asking really good questions to prospects. It went from there. I didn't have someone, back to my dad, I didn't have someone to go home to and ask a ton of questions. My mom was a professional in the government and very, very busy, so not home a whole lot. So I really had to find that guidance and mentorship elsewhere. And that was almost always in my work environment. And I was not shy to ask questions. I think a lot of people feel annoying, possibly. And for me, it was just a constant practice for me, all the way to the top. If the CFO walked in the door to do a walkthrough with the rest of the senior management team, I was asking them questions, getting my name out there, talking to them about what was working, what wasn't. And, I think that's a big lacking habit in a lot of people nowadays, is that they want to know everything. They want to do it all on their own. And I've always kind of taken the opposite approach, is that, I'm asking questions all the time, even to this day. I'm asking questions from my team. I'm asking questions from people like you that I'm, jumping on their show, and I want to learn constantly.
Well, I appreciate that, because I'm the same way. And I think back to, I also lost my dad. It wasn't 18, it was at 28. But I think about the impact that had. What was the immediate impact on you at the age of 18? Like for the next month, year? I mean, there was this gap. I mean, how did that impact your thinking? Just impact your emotions? Just how did that hit you at that age and stage in your life?
I think it's a good question, man. I think everyone goes through different stages of grief, and there's a lot of professionals out there that have the 4 or 5 or 6 stages, depending on who you talk to. For me, at that age, I was very angry to start, and that's a pretty natural stage of grief, from what I understand, and
Yeah.
very very angry for probably a whole year, really, until I really started to step back. My dad died of heart failure and a couple of other different organ problems that came from that heart failure. And it was because he wasn't in shape. He was not doing the things to take care of his body that he should have been. A great man, took care of his family, worked crazy hours, but didn't take care of his body. Hence why I actually went into the fitness world, because I was angry and I was kind of fighting that entire, thought process. So I went straight into fitness and kind of made it my mission to make sure that other people didn't experience that. And I think I was angry for a long time. Where I really started to reel back is I was selling memberships in the gyms before I got into management, and meet a lot of people in the same boat as my dad was. And you kind of start to get empathy for that situation, and really understand that, for me, I was always in martial arts. We've talked about this before. I was a Thai fighter very young, and always in Taekwondo or some jiu-jitsu, some form of martial arts. So I stayed very fit. And then I happened to work in the fitness industry. So I was in a gym every single day and just happened to stay very fit. But it's hard. And it's hard to make that a part of your daily routine. It's hard for people that are already in a situation where they may be overweight or may not, have the healthiest of lifestyles to make that change. And so really then I kind of learned to have empathy for my dad's situation and start to be able to sell through that and tell my story to the people that were sitting across the desk from me, and help them make the leap to change their life. So started with anger, went more to empathy. And to this day, I still try to employ that when I'm having conversations with friends, family, coworkers, employees, anyone. So.
Somehow you came to be working where you are now, where you're leading an organization now. And I'd love to share that story of how you came to be where you are now, and talk about where you are now in your career and the people you're leading now.
Yeah, absolutely. I run Win Big Media, which is a marketing agency, which for those listening might seem like a very sharp contrast to the fitness industry, which it is. And I love what I do. It is very, very different than what I used to do. We're a fully remote agency, which is great for our team members, great for flexibility, but it's not in person. I'm not, in a physical location every day. How I ended up there, Matt, is really, after the pandemic, after all that tough, those tough conversations, that constant grind to get the clubs back up and operational, I started to, want to look for a change. I wanted to work for a smaller organization in which I could affect more change. My personal mission or purpose is really to drive growth within team members. I think I always say this, profits and money is a side benefit to treating people right and helping them grow so that they help your business grow. And I wanted to do that in a more impactful way in an organization. And where I was at, an amazing company, I just didn't have that ability to affect long-term change at the level I was at. So I started to look for something. I met a gentleman that me and you both know pretty well, Philip Stutz, who was operating Win Big Media at that time as the CEO, and we hit it off. And I heard his mission for helping business owners get more ROI and ultimately providing a better alternative than some of the other agency models that were out there in the market world. And it really resonated with me. I'd been on the other side of that. I'd been the client before that was frustrated about the marketing campaigns and not understanding what those people were telling me and just going, why are my phones ringing, right? And so I had a lot of, back to empathy, I had a lot of empathy for the situations that some of the clients were in. And I wanted to work for an organization that was combating that. So that's what got me in to Win Big Media, and just through Philip's mentorship and ultimately challenging myself to do something different and much harder in certain instances than what I was doing before. I've grown to the role that I'm in, but not without the team, not without good mentors.